All right, guys, welcome back to Countercap TV. I'm Alec, and I'm here with my co-host, Bryan, Mind Over Bryan, whatever you want to call him. Welcome to the 100 Point Club, new show on the channel, where we're going to be breaking down some COD stuff, talking about our thoughts, giving predictions, recaps, anything like that. So, Stage 2 playoffs, man.
Yeah, it was a thing. Not necessarily, surprised but not surprised. Let me go out and say that right off.
I was surprised.
Wasn't surprised to see Rise and Red, obviously, in the top 3. Was very surprised to see Optic knocked out in 7 maps.
Surprised to see TK playing at that level. Like, knew they were good, but didn't expect that.
Well, I mean, they said it was said best on Trading Shots. Pharaoh had the best of in his career, and Abel, despite the .38 in search, was really good in the respawns, and that's really that's the bread and butter to TK. It's Kenny and Lamar's Forest. They own that.
Kenny's Forest, yeah. The one thing that I really wanted to get into, the talk of the town the last week or so, has been regarding S&D in a lot of forms. Optic struggles in it, EG struggles in it. They're in the same pool together. LG has completely just fallen off the map.
Somebody's got to win a search.
And in the last few days, a lot of the conversation has been pros are finally playing S&D tourneys this late in the year. They're really getting active and involved in that scene and trying to catch up from where they've been struggling. People have been trying to hire coaches. We saw that with EG, right? They hired somebody. Is hiring outside S&D, coaching or playing these S&D tournaments, do you think, because it's a different style of playing S&D, but do you think it benefits the team as a whole when it comes to lands? Because we've seen a lot of these S&D kids come out and affect a series really hard because they're just smarter than everyone else on land. They're playing their 1v1s correctly. They're micromanaging what they should be doing, like holding an angle versus pushing, that kind of thing. It's a different style of play. Do you think it's beneficial for pro teams to be adapting to that and looking to those guys for help?
I mean, I think so. I mean, if you can't beat them, join them, you know? I feel like that obviously search in the pro scene is kind of, I don't want to say lacking, but
I would definitely
in
say
comparison
it's
to
lacking right now.
in comparison to people like Teddy Rex and all that, and like Pharaoh and Decimate who have come from the search and destroy scene, yeah, I mean, they're not as good. It's plain and simple. So I think getting people like the Decimates on your team and even getting outside help, like for instance, we saw on Twitter Optic and or Teddy Rex was somebody help. Somebody help us with our respawn. I'll help you with search, and Scump hit him up real quick.
He's like, I'll get you right in search, bang my line, let's do this.
Yes.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, Lethal qualified, they're obviously capable of winning in respawns, but are they capable of beating Rise or Red or TK?
Maybe not.
No, and I don't think they're going to be whipped into shape over, what do we have, 2 weeks now?
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to come up and be game-changing for them, but I do think somebody to say, yeah, you guys are rotating fine, but you're not doing this correctly, or you should be worried about this on the rotation instead of this, or hold this angle instead of pushing something. And if you don't know the spawns well, playing with guys who play against other pros every week in the league, that should be, that's going to count for something.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, you've got these guys that play search 90% of their lives. These guys have been making, sustaining their living through search tournaments for 5 years. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. So there's going to be some help. I don't know how much it's going to help them this late in the game because some things are just fundamentally broken on certain teams. I think LG just plays it wrong. I think they just play search wrong. Optic definitely plays search wrong. And so having someone to say, break it all down, try this instead, give them a fresh set of eyes on what they're doing wrong, maybe that can help. But if you're a team that's doing most of it right, you're just not playing your 1v1s correctly, maybe that can be helped. Maybe there's just not enough time to fix it this season. I don't know, but I like the move. I like the idea that people are we can come together and try to figure this out in a way that we haven't tried before. We've been trying it without a coach or outside help. Let's get somebody in here and try to write this thing.
I feel like your people, like your Optics and your LGs who don't really know, quote-unquote now playing search and destroy right, I think those teams, surprisingly enough, are in a better place than players that aren't playing one-on-ones right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, from a standpoint, you're looking at people are in one-on-one situations, that's strictly this is what I do, this is what I don't do, and that's a habit. Breaking those kind of habits are hard to do, whereas when you're playing as a team and you're not playing it per se right, and somebody comes in and says, okay, you're doing this right, but tweak it here, here, and here,
yeah,
it's a lot easier for them to come together. And you would think that sounds a little bit different. Like, you think it would be the other way around. Like, it's one person
It
versus
smells-
an entire team.
Yeah, it's like a small task versus reshaping your whole S&D.
But at the end of the day, these guys are professional players. They can. We're not asking them not to shoot better.
Yeah.
We're asking them to make little changes to how they play.
Yeah, go look somewhere else. Go hold a different angle so you guys can trade more effectively, or just cut down somebody's potential of rushing your mid, throwing you off, doing whatever it is that is catching you off guard.
Nade spots.
Yeah, and that is a huge thing. That's why I'm a big proponent for this, because I remember the days when the S&D kids changed the pro scene. Like, if you think back to MW3, even though there was no real competition that season on the American side, they all had to go overseas. There was so much search being played in that game.
Yeah.
That guys like Fizz changed it completely by going into ghosts. They were smoking and using thermals and like triple stuns. Like, they were just taking the easy route to win search, and pros didn't know how to respond to it. And that's the reason why guys like Attach have done so well. Guys that come out of this S&D scene knowing, they know what to do in search. Can they get caught up in the respawns? You can be taught respawns. Maybe your shot's not great. Maybe you're the Rambo Ray or the nade shot situation where it's like, you're not elite. You're not formal. You're not beaming people off of head glitches. But in search, if you're behind somebody,
Sometimes,
doesn't really matter. Like,
sometimes search is more about making the right play than hitting your shots.
yeah.
Like, getting yourself in a position to hit shots.
If you can stall time with a bomb planted, you've won the round regardless.
Yeah.
So maybe you give up a streak or something. Sure, maybe that might happen. But I'd rather be 5-1 and let them have a glide bomb than 4-2 and just trying to extend that lead again. Let your momentum get thrown off. But yeah, I think all in all, that's a good look for the scene just to keep as a point moving forward. Of just like, we need some help. Let's stop having this exclusionary attitude. Yes, we get it. Like, you're a pro. You play on land. Literally this year, you've been there. Like, what feels like the majority of the year, you've been in Columbus. You do this every day. You should know better than anyone how to fix your game. But maybe you don't. And it's having the brain or a coach in the form of maybe not even a full-on stage coach. Like, we're not even allowed to put coaches on the stage in CWL. Like, so you don't have somebody up there over your shoulder saying, "Hey, go to that corner, go do that thing." Maybe your teammate says it. Maybe he's a better search player than you. But that's a completely different dynamic.
It's a
somebody
player
else.
to coach.
Yeah.
It's player to coach. Yeah.
Or you could have the side of coaching like Bryan Saint, who's just like, I'm going to handle these vetoes. I'm going to have them playing the right maps, which we've seen a lot of people struggle with.
Which has
handling.
worked.
Yeah.
Which has worked really well in their favor.
And because if you don't pick the right maps, regardless of how good you are, if you're playing a team on their best map, they're going to be more confident.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever you've done, they're going to feel like they have a counter for.
I think vetoes have been. I think people are approaching
Vetoes?
vetoes in a very different way than I would approach them.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna veto a map because I suck at it. I'm gonna veto a map because they're really good at it.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather play on a map that I'm bad at and know that even though I'm bad at it, I can still kind of hold my own, than play a map that I know that, like, it's like Optic with London Docks. Like, why do you play them? What is your... Play St. Marie. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, London Docks hardpoint and Optic game, do not do it.
All right, so the next thing that I wanted to talk about, who do you think is the favorite headed into Champs? Do we have one? Is it still Rise because they were so close to the three-peat? Is it TK because historically the person that won Stage 2 playoffs goes on to win Champs for the last 2 years? How do you feel about that? What's your thoughts on who we should be looking for as the number one person?
It would make sense. Historically speaking, the last 2 years, the winner of Stage 2 won Champs. Mm-hmm. As much as, like, I think that could be a possibility, it's hard not to say Rise is the favorite. Like, you're looking at a team that has been in, I think, 4 straight grand finals?
I think so, yeah.
And won 2 of them. Like, and even took a best of 5 in the most recent. I think it's hard to look at that roster with Slasher and Gunless and TJ being the forces that they can be. And we know TJ shows up big time on the stage when the tournament's on the line. So, and Looney's probably one of the best as far as getting your team in the position to win every single time out. Like, every time you look at him while you're watching the game, he's in a place, whether that be rotating to another hill to get him spawns or something like that. He's just so smart and plays it so well. it's hard not to look at Rise and say they're not the favorites. It really is, and as much as I think TK has that shot, especially if Pharaoh plays as well as he did, especially if Enable even picks his S&D KD up to 0.5. Like, that's a pretty big jump, sadly.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a really big improvement.
It's just hard not to look at that Rise roster and say they're not the favorites going into Champs.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the idea that they've historically, like, we have some facts saying that TK should be the one to go on because the team that gets hot before stays hot. My issue is this year, like, we've just had so much competition, and I don't think, like, it was the case last year, but not to this degree. Like, we had a lot of good teams. We didn't have a lot of great teams.
It's wide open.
And I think, this year that factor is going to change a lot heading into Champs because, sure, they have momentum, but other teams were either super close or know what they need to do. It's not like the gap is there and no one's closing the gap on Envy or Optic or whoever. I'm just referencing the last winners. But that's not the situation. You haven't had a team really super dominate this year. Rise was great. The first TK roster was great.
Red looks really good when they're all hitting shots.
Yeah, when Red's full stop going, like, they're amazing. You really look like you can't outgun them. It's ridiculous.
Like, you look at
how fast they can get out of hand.
Look at everything that we've got right now, and you look at your top 8. Like, Red, who hasn't won an event but has been close. Rise has won 3 events. TK's won 3 events. Optic, we know what they're capable of when they're playing well. Obviously, the Stage 2 playoffs is not what they wanted, but I mean, they were one of the top 2 teams going into the playoffs. They were the 1 seed out of their group. And then you look at, like, the E-Uniteds when they're playing well. Unilad when they're playing well, which is a surprise to about everybody. I mean, right there, that's 7 teams. FaZe, Stage 1 champions. Like, all 8 teams that participated in the playoffs, except for maybe Echo Fox. It's hard to argue. And when LG's hitting their stride, I mean, look what they did at Seattle. Or was it? No, it was Anaheim. Jeez, I'm drawing a blank. It was Anaheim when they finished 3rd with Formal, right?
I think so.
Either way,
yeah.
Like, they finished 3rd.
It's hard to consider anybody. Maybe not Echo Fox. Yeah. Maybe.
I don't think they have the sleigh power. Like,
I think if all 4 of them are playing well, they do have that ability. We've seen them actually go off on certain maps.
That team goes as far as Aqua goes. Like, in all honesty, like, when Aqua's not playing good in hardpoint, Echo Fox isn't winning it.
Yeah. And I think United kind of suffers from the same problem. They have a lot of times where 3 people are playing well, but one of them is just really far behind. Mm-hmm. And occasionally, they fall into that spot where 2 of them are super far behind, but the next game, they somehow turn it around. That's my worry with the United. I think they're a great team right now, but if Clay's not having a great game, that slows you a whole lot.
If Arcides is having a bad game.
And if Arcides is having a bad game, especially, like, he's super smart, and so he's rarely doing the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. But if it's not working out, if he's making the plays but just not surviving, or they're just getting out-rotated or whatever, it's hard to imagine that they have a great shot at it. But if all 4 of them are playing well, then yeah, they've really proved this year that they have a good shot at playing with anybody. Look at how many times they've gone to a Game 5 and just had you on the edge of your seat, round 11, like,
interesting,
just on the verge.
It was an interesting stat. They went 5 maps every match in the second week, in the last 2 weeks. They went map 5 every single series. That's wild.
It's ridiculous. If I had to pick a flat-out favorite right now, it probably is Rise. Like, they've earned that benefit of the doubt that not closing out TK was just a 1-series mistake. Like, they just couldn't get it done on that day. TK was just playing hot. They have definitely earned it. But, God, there is just so much talent that it's hard to be like, oh, they're far and away the best team. Like, my head is saying Rise, they're going to bounce back. Slasher's going to be so motivated by this loss that he's just ready to go and grind, get that revenge back on TK. But my heart's saying Red. When they're playing full stop, they're unbeatable.
Yeah. If Zero, and that's really the big. If Red, if Zero plays well.
Yeah.
I mean, we know Zero was one of the best players in Infinite Warfare. Like, if he plays well, at Champs and you get the performance out of Joe Rated and Scraps that you normally do, that team's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. I do think that we're in for a wild one, especially like
it's gonna be a smoke show.
The pool play element of it. Some pools are a little more stacked than others. There's only one super difficult pool, in my opinion.
Pool E's probably the.
E is really looking like a slow time as far as
you got Doug. Wins. You got Doug. Doug is in that pool.
Doug's winning champs.
Doug is in the pool.
Never mind. Let me change my answer. Doug's winning champs. Doug's my favorite.
Complexity's out here.
All right, so maybe the last point. I think we're getting close to wrapping up here. Of the teams that made it through the LCQ, do you think any of them have a real chance? We were just talking about the competition as far as those guys that made it, into playoffs, that top 8 right now. Do you think these guys, Lightning Pandas, Ghost, Brash, Lethal, do you think any of them have a solid chance?
I will say this. If Teddy Rex gets the help that he needs in Respawn and they can take CTFs off of people, they're going to do something. They might not be able to beat like Rise and who not, but top 16, if they can win CTFs, isn't out of this realm of possibility.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But if I had to give you 4 teams that I feel like could make a run, it's Lightning Pandas, Ghosts, EZG, and Moratory, which is the old GGA, GGA guys. Yeah. So those are the 4 that I think that could make a run. Lethal would be a 5th, but I just want to watch TK Lightning Pandas.
That's
like stage
incredible.
2 champions against Dylan McGee. He gets his chance to get back against the team that dropped him. That's just awesome.
Who wins? Kenny, the 3-time champ, or Dylan McGee?
I mean, it's the same conversation as Doug. We think Doug's winning champs. If McGee's gonna pull that one, but he will be so gassed. Goonjar will gas him so much that they might win. He might go triple positive. But yeah, those are the 4 teams that I think are gonna that have, in my opinion, that have a chance to make noise.
I can see that. The Moratory, the GGA, yeah. I think they definitely have a chance. They've played well all year. They've been on the border so many times. But my sleeper pick out of the whole LCQ teams, I really think EZG. I really think EZG
I think they've got a really good chance.
A really good chance, just because those guys, they grind, man. Like, all year long, you've seen the main core of that roster. I mean, all 4 of them have been playing well all year. But I see tweets every day. They're just always playing. It's ridiculous. I think they are my sleeper team, but Lightning Pandas is definitely the best of the rest.
You can't not look at Lightning Pandas and say they didn't deserve to be in the pro league.
Yeah,
like they are a team full of players. Like Theory's won 2 championships. I don't care that he dropped a 0.7 in either of those events. Mm-hmm. He's got 2 championships this year. Mm-hmm. Goonjar, I mean, he's a longtime TK alumni, as we'll call him, and then Royalty. And I mean, that team is just full of players.
Also, Royalty has been like good. He's, if not great, for the last 3 years. That kid, I think he's one of the most underrated players in Call of Duty history.
But I mean, like, that's a team that's got pro players on it that deserve to be in the pro league outside, in replacement of like your teams that go like 1-13.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Tainted Minds. Don't get me wrong. Top 8.
Huge upswing
at their last event.
Really on the rise right now,
but Epsilon, like, Dave. I like Dave. Don't get me wrong. Great player. I like him. But that team just shouldn't have been there. Like,
yeah, they just didn't. They never really pulled it together. My one question mark on this year, like my biggest what happened moment.
7 EU teams though qualified for champs. That's wild.
That's
huge for the scene.
Yeah, I love that.
Huge.
That's incredible to see. I was just about to take it over to the EU side as well. What happened to Splice? What happened?
Ooh, another team. Tommy's team. That man could take. He could take valet parkers, people that just park cars for a living, and take them to champs. He just did it practically.
Pretty much.
We don't. Who exactly?
Next
okay.
question.
Anyway.
My question mark on the season is what happened to Splice? They had such a good run last year. Sure, things were shaken up a little bit, but damn, man, like
I think it was just the game. I
think that's with a lot of teams. The game has
I think
just
it's
been
just the game.
unfavorable.
Like, I mean, that was the whole original Optic roster. Like, it's just
it
the
just
game.
wasn't for some people this
yeah,
year.
like it's just not. It's just the game. Like, it's a huge adjustment to go from a trash game that had people flying in the air to a trash game with people running. That's just my opinion. But I mean, it's a big transition, and I mean, I don't think that those players like Mad Cat's been in the scene for a long time. I mean, Josh has been in the scene for a long time. And I mean, Bance and Jared played great last year. So I mean, I think it's just they don't play well in the game. Like, it might change next year. Black Ops 4 might be the coming of the EU King.
That's fair. I mean, Bance played out of his mind 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, in Birmingham, I mean, that just showed you. Granted, it was on equipment that nobody really liked.
yeah, nobody
but,
wanted to play that.
I mean, still, like, that's a second place finish.
I think they definitely had potential this year. It fell apart at the wrong times. But going back to the Black Ops series, like, Bance was good. He was really good. And if you can get that turned around, I'm excited to see what they can do next year. But it just kind of hurt this year to see a team that was so good and had so much potential just not be able to pull it together. But I think that's going to take us through to
I got one question, and it's quick. Top 4 at Champs.
I was going to interject something that I was going to ask if there's one matchup.
There's one match. I still want to see Optic LG at Champs, damn it. Like, that's the one. Like, that, I still want to see Echo Fox and Envy. Mm-hmm. That would be nice. Storyline purposes, I think those two are the ones that I want to see.
I was going to say, I respect those choices. Those are all great. But I want to see Grand Final, Red Reserve, Unilad, let's get it poppin'.
Please, that would be brilliant.
Could you imagine? Bad.
You have a winners final of, like, you just go win, like, grand final with Optic LG. Could you imagine? Could you imagine what that would be like?
Be ridiculous.
Like, that, it's not good. I don't think it's going to happen.
Probably not. Slim chances. Looking slow.
Wait a minute, though. J-Cap is on LG. That man does have 2 rings, and he's been in 3 straight finals. They were all Jetpack games.
You can't disrespect Kaplan.
Cap, John, Jerry.
I don't want to talk about John right now. I absolutely cost him. He disrespected me on stream. It's fine.
Yeah, whatever. He can't help that he carries you.
He carried the absolute
with the sniper. With the sniper
he dropped
rifle.
40 and we lost. I'm
with
awful.
The sniper rifle.
I'm so bad.
With a sniper though. Anyway, but I think the top 4 I think is going to be. I think you're going to see a top 6 from Optic. I think top 6 is in that realm, unless Scump goes 1.2 because he's pissed off that he dropped a 0.7.
Can you imagine if they get 7th again?
I'm pretty sure there's going to be a monitor flying, and Ian Porter might or might not be behind it.
He might be attached to it.
But I think the top 4 is going to be, you're going to see Red rise. I think United's still going to bring it and get a top 4 finish. Sleeper. I think TK finishes top 6. What if FaZe? What if they snuck in the back door like that? I could see it happening. This roster, man.
I could respect that. They're definitely. I mean, they have potential.
That's my big. That's my big That's like my big hot take.
Yeah, I don't know what order I would put them in, but I'm going to say Rise, Red, TKE United probably.
I think the same top 4 as stage 2.
Yeah, honestly.
I think Rise is winning champs.
I don't know who I could confidently say is definitely like going to win. Like I said, we had the favorites conversation.
I think we'll see a Rise Red Grand Final again. I think it'll be one of them.
I would love to see E United make a real run and make that top 2. That would be ridiculous just because look at what they've done.
Clay hasn't won in over 1,000 days, guys. 1,000. Over 1,000.
And you're talking about one of the premier players in Call of Duty, in Clayster. He's so good, has been since Black Ops 2 really breaks out that year and has just dominated since. But 1,000 days, man. That's ridiculous.
It's wild.
But anyway, that's going to do it here for us. 100 Point Club, Episode 1. Please let me know what you thought. If there's anything we could work on, anything you'd like to hear from us next week. Also, a little bit of an announcement. We will be at CWL Champs, and we will be recording this show live from there at some point Maybe at the end of every day. We'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just depends on the travel schedule, what free time we can get, where we can set up. But we will definitely be going and recording from there.
Content coming.
Content is coming.
If you have any questions about anything coming up at Champs, or just it's going to be hard because we're not recording a show before Champs.
We may be.
We might. Okay, we might. If you have any questions before Champs that you want answered, drop a comment. Let us know what you want us to talk about. There might be a little bit more arguing. We agreed a lot.
Yeah, this time we were on pretty similar takes, but usually we're pretty
back and forth.
Yeah.
So we'll probably argue a little bit soon.
I'm sure it's going to happen as we get closer to Champs, but thank you for watching. Let us know what your top 4 or your sleeper picks are for Champs, and we will see you next time.